It's Packers Week Part 2. It's like we were just here 2 weeks ago. And we were. Welcome on into the Bear Report preview of the Bears-Packers Week 16 showdown. And boy, has it been a week. And we're not even talking about the game on Saturday night. I'm Steven Johnson. He is Zach Pearson. And Zach, I tell you what, I just wanted everything to be focused in on the game, playing for the top of the division, potentially the 2 seed in the NFC. And we get distracted by, honestly, things that probably need to wait until season's end.
Yeah, I mean, we were supposed to do this on Tuesday night, record this on Tuesday night, and thank goodness we did, because there's been a lot of stuff from Tuesday on, and obviously there's injuries we'll talk about that impact this game. There's a game going on right now that could impact the Bears playoff seeding. And then, yesterday on Wednesday about 5:00, Kevin Warren pens an open letter about the stadium stuff. And there you go again, right on cue. The timing of these letters is just impeccable. They did it with 3 days before Caleb Williams was going to get drafted. They had this press conference at Soldier Field. I was there. They're talk about how we're going to focus on Chicago. It opened up with a prayer about, thank God for the Bears and thank God for Soldier Field. And then, before the season starts that year in 2024, they come out and say, well, we're focused on Arlington Heights. And then, before they go to London, they talk about the stadium. It's just, and now, on the heels of arguably the biggest Bears game since 2020-ish, the playoff game, it's just, they do this. So yeah, exciting times, huh?
Yeah, it was something to behold reading through Kevin Warren's letter last night. Just a couple highlights, really talking about the support of the fans. And the more this drags on, this is letter number 3, maybe 4, that's been penned to the fans about the stadium. And I gotta say, it feels as though the support in general is waning. That at some point there needs to be action and not just continuous carousels of words. Like you said, the press conferences, the renderings. We saw renderings for Arlington Heights. We saw renderings for Chicago. Everything. We've seen it all, yet not a single shovel in the dirt. And then he comes out last night and says, we have not asked for state taxpayer dollars to build the stadium. We asked only for a commitment to essential local infrastructure, roads, utilities, and site improvements, which is more than typical for projects of this size. Additionally, we sought reasonable property tax certainty to secure financing. We listened to state leadership, relied on their direction and guidance, and yet our efforts have been met with no legislative partnership. And it has been told to them that state leadership, the project for Arlington Heights, will not be a priority in 2026, despite the benefits it will bring to Illinois. And I tell you what, to go a step further, and this is what irked me, to say we need to expand our search and critically evaluate opportunities throughout the wider Chicagoland region, including Northwest Indiana. Hammond, Gary, who in their right minds wants to go down there?
Dude, it's a couple things with that. They're not, this is why I don't believe it's true. In the letter, what does he say? This is not a negotiation tactic or something like that.
Yeah, it is.
It's 100% a negotiation tactic. It's Hallis Hall is what? An hour 5, hour 10 without traffic to Northwest Indiana. I'm guessing about that. With traffic, which there's going to be a lot of, when the players are leaving, the players are trying to get to Hallis Hall, you're looking at potentially a 2-hour trip there and then 2 hours back. They're not building it that far. They're not moving Hallis Hall. They just renovated Hallis Hall before the 2019 season. That's 6 years. They're not moving it. Indiana, what says that they want to give them all this money and have another NFL team. Like, it makes no sense to me. Illinois is not going to let the Bears go to Indiana. It would be the dumbest thing they could do. I think, to me, there's 2 to 3 options. It's Arlington Heights, which I think is the most likely option still. It's renovating Soldier Field and making it a dome, but then you're still stuck with these problems years later. Or it's exploring Naperville or other properties in Chicago. Going to Indiana just makes no sense to me. And we're sitting here again, and you know, there's a couple things people need to know. Yes, the Bears are asking for money for the infrastructure, like for the roads and all that stuff, which to me, I think it's reasonable. They're going to pay for the stadium or most of it, whatever it is, which is fine.
Yeah.
But Illinois has so much going on that, like the letter says, it's not going to be a priority in 2026. Well, the Bears effed around for 2 to 3 years. They've owned this Arlington property for 3 years. You know, they miscalculated the taxes when they bought it. Now they have to dig up and dig through, and it's just been a mess from the start. And this shovel should have been in the ground earlier this year, but I don't know. I still think it's Arlington. I still think the shovel's getting in the ground late 2026. I think it's Kevin Warren saying, "Hey, look, we're threatening this. Governor Pritzker, you want to run for president in a couple of years? So be it." Maybe they're waiting for Brandon Johnson to get out and they turn their attention to Chicago. He's got his own issues here, obviously. But yeah, man, it's just, like I said, I think the worst part about this is just the timing. And also think of this. If the city of Chicago didn't mess up the first renovation that they owe, what, $400 million or something still on
a lot.
From 2001, the Bears would be building a new stadium in Chicago. It wouldn't even be close.
Right.
So, yeah. It's just dumb.
Yeah, the entire thing, it's just call the cat a cat, call the dog a dog.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to sit here and be talked to like we don't see what's going on, what cities across the United States have gone through. You know, look at the situation in Kansas City where the taxpayers didn't even want the Chiefs to build a new stadium down there. Like,
and they win.
Right. and no, and like it's one of those things where we know what's going on. We see what's going on. And for the Bears to essentially drop $300 million on this property in Arlington Heights and not have the backing of all the parties that were necessary, it's like due diligence was the last thing on their plate to be continuously rotating through. Arguably the second time now that Arlington Heights has been on the table and then removed from the table if they do indeed look outside of there. And what do they do with that property now if that does indeed happen? That's the thing that doesn't make sense. So you're telling me you essentially lit all this money on fire. It's fun coupons. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Like nothing's going to sit there that's going to make that money back. And the fact that they did that and they're saying this stuff, I don't get it. He wants to, like Kevin Warren wants to sit here and say, our fans deserve a world-class stadium. Our players and coaches deserve a venue that matches the championship standard they strive for every day. They deserve somebody to lead them in this project at that standard. And right now, it ain't Kevin Warren. It just isn't. Well, I'm sick of this.
Here's the other thing. He wasn't here when they bought it.
No.
So I get kind of where he's coming from, you know, in terms of like, he's kind of got his hands tied behind his back in that way. Like if he was here when they bought it, I think they would have done a lot more research. I think they just bought on a whim and thought, oh yeah, we can just build a stadium here. Here we go. You know, that was a mistake, but yeah, again, you know, it's been 3 years since he's been hired. We've had 3 open letters, couple flip-flops. We're focusing on Chicago. We're focusing on Arlington Heights. We're focusing on Northwest Indiana. Yeah, it's frustrating. And I don't know what they do. That's what also makes me think they're just going to keep and build. They're eventually going to build there because if they sell, they're going to take a loss. And what I'm not 100% sure, but can they put a casino there since it's so close to Rivers.
And that was my question, was how does that mix go into play? But I'd have to imagine, just because and maybe it's not a land thing, but I mean there was the betting component at the racetrack. If there's a grandfathered in state to that land for that, I mean that would be my assumption. That's something that they can work around. And obviously if that's a tipping point for the Bears in terms of building there, I feel like that's one of the first questions that should have been answered. I mean, Rivers hasn't just appeared out of nowhere either.
Yeah.
Like that's a spot that's been there. I'm just having a hard time fathoming how we've gotten to this point, because nothing makes sense. Nothing at all.
It's I don't know. It's the stadium stuff is so frustrating. And especially like we're sitting here like a couple days away, like I said, from the biggest Bears game at Soldier Field, a lot on the line. And now the stadium, is the big issue. But look at it this way. I mean, it also might be brilliant for Kevin Warren to release this now. You have a national broadcast. They're going to talk about the stadium. They're going to talk about this letter. So
I don't want to see him in the booth on Saturday night.
He won't be, but the announcers are going to talk about it. And maybe that's a good negotiation tactic, because people in Illinois are going to listen and they're going to hear it. So, yeah, I think it's all negotiation. I cannot see Northwest Indiana. It just makes no sense at all to me. None. Rather just stay at Soldier Field.
Yeah, no, 100%. As long as you don't build another spaceship on top of a spaceship at Soldier Field, if that ends up being,
and then can't pay it off.
And then can't pay it off. Exactly. Just keep, kicking the can down the road. But positives: the Bears play football in a couple days against the Green Bay Packers. It is for the NFC North, the second seed in the NFC, and hopefully by the time everything's said and done in 3 weeks, maybe for the pole position to get into that 1 seed in the NFC overall, as the Rams and the Seahawks facing each other right now for that overall spot in the NFC West and the NFC, with just 3 losses for the winner tonight in the Thursday night matchup between those two teams out in Seattle. And for as much as we saw in the back and forth in this first matchup between the Bears and the Packers, where the Bears obviously coming out flat, things turn around in the second half. They make incredible adjustments. They almost pull off the comeback. We all know the 4th and 1, the interception. We heard about it in the locker room. There's a bad taste in the Bears' mouths about how that ended, and they want revenge. But it's a much different looking matchup than it was 2 weeks ago, and specifically because of the injuries.
Yeah, I mean, now we look, obviously today the Bears had to do their injury report, and it's Luther Burden's out, Rome Odunze's out. So there's 2 of your top wide receivers, and it's tough. Roma's now missed this week 3 straight games, didn't play against Green Bay a couple weeks ago. Burden looked great until he got hurt in that second half against Cleveland. Came up with a foot injury, ankle injury, and had to be kind of carted off, which was, not good. So, yeah, I mean, it's up. DJ Moore, you're up. Olamide Zaccheaus, you're up. Colson Loveland, Cole Kmet, Devin Duvernay, Johnny Walker. That's who Caleb Williams will be throwing to on Saturday night. But, yeah, it's tough because you lose Rome, and you saw this kind of coming with Rome. He mentioned it earlier in the season. If you really listen to him, this is not an easy injury to get better from. It's kind of something you have to play through. And, I wonder if they kind of pushed him to play against Cleveland, which then he gets hurt pregame. So I wonder if that was kind of a mistake. He probably could have played this weekend. So, yeah, that one's tough. And then obviously Burden is another tough one, because you just see the flashes, man, of how good he can be. And yesterday on Wednesday, we got to talk to assistant coaches. So I talked to Antoine Randall, and I was asking him, what's the next step for Burden? And he just got done saying every answer: more games, more reps, and he'll be, kind of taken off. And it just sucks as now he won't get those games and those reps. And this is a perfect game to have a breakout year or a breakout game with national television focusing on you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, between Colston Loveland, DJ Moore, Olamide Zaccheaus, I mean, those are your three. You can toss Cole Kmet in there once he gets more up to speed, and
Yep.
he's kind of the question mark right now in terms of those pass catchers. I'd imagine we're going to see a lot of 12 personnel on Saturday night because of just the way that the room is made up, unless
Yep.
it's, Devin Duvernay, come on down. You're going to be, playing in these three wide sets and then some. It's tough. It's definitely tough because on the flip side of this, with what the Packers have, just as many questions, truly.
Yeah.
But you want both teams to be at full strength. You don't want those excuses to be in play, but you also need to go out and make the most of what you have with the squad that is healthy. And that's the thing that the Bears have worked through, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Tremaine Edmunds looking like he's going to be back on Saturday night. So that is huge for the first time in a long time. You get both Edmunds and TJ Edwards back on the field together. Obviously, no Kyler Gordon. He's really the only missing piece right now for that Bears defense that's still dealing with the injury. And we'll be talking, hopefully, playoffs that he'll be able to come back, but we'll see how that works. And then the Packers. Let's talk about the Packers side of the ball and the injuries that they're dealing with. Obviously, the big elephant in the room from the game against the Broncos for them last week, losing Micah Parsons for the year to a torn ACL. And now the question is, when does he ever come back for as much money he is making from Green Bay? But on top of that, Josh Jacobs has not participated all week in practice. That is huge. He has been dealing with a knee injury for weeks, and he has had 3 straight did not participate to his name, and is listed as questionable. Their top offensive lineman right now, Zach Tom, he has not practiced all week with back and knee injuries. Evan Williams, who got that interception on Caleb Williams, he has not participated all week either. And so for all of the injuries, it sounds as though we are going to see Christian Watson. He's been limited the last 2 days with his chest and shoulder injuries, which shockingly has I expected him to miss a game or two the way that he went down in that game, but I think there was talk of a broken clavicle at one point, collarbone, whatever you want to call it. And it seems like he's going to give it a shot, that he's going to play through it. You have Lucas Van Ness on the edge there. He's been limited the last 2 days. So just as many question marks more than anything for the Packers that the Bears have. And so it's really just an infirmary all around at Soldier Field more than anything. And it's like, who's going to be the backup that's going to make the impact given all of these problems?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big one that really impacts the game is obviously Micah Parsons, because he definitely changes that pass rush and everything that Green Bay, does. So, that's a tough one. I'm curious to see what the Bears do. Like you said, without Rome Odunze, without Luther Burden, they found success running that football in the second half, and I think they'll probably lean on that. The passing game should open up if Evan Williams doesn't play and Micah Parsons doesn't play. But, the Christian Watson injury was the interesting one because, like you said, it went to the hospital after, and you thought, okay, he's probably going to miss a game or two, but it looks like he's going to go. I think Josh Jacobs is going to play. I'd be shocked if he didn't play. I think it's kind of one of those, like, DNP, it's a short week. Let's just kind of, get him out there and we'll see, what happens. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame because you want both teams at their best, but not every team is going to be healthy. No team is 100% healthy at this stage in the season. And it just comes down to scheme, execution, and who can win with the roster you have right now.
Absolutely. And with the Packers, obviously you can make more than a point to that Micah Parsons is definitely, like you said, the big X factor in this compared to all of the injured players in what he's able to do in getting after the quarterback. And I had to think about it for a second, even outside of Lucas Van Ness, who missed the first matchup between these two teams 2 weeks ago, who another rusher is on this Packers team. I had to think about it for a second because he has that much of an impact.
Yeah, I mean, well, Rashawn Gary.
Yeah.
Rashawn Gary. I don't know who else is their backup pass rushers.
Yeah, I struggled, and you can
Wait, is Preston Smith back with them? No, he's not back with them.
No,
he's with Washington. That's right.
Yeah, you have Colby Wooden, Lucas Van Ness, Nazir Stackhouse, Baron Sorrell, Jordan Riley, Aaron Mosby, Rashawn Gary, Kingsley, and Inagbare? I butchered the heck out of it. Yeah, Carl Brooks, Warren Brinson, and Quinton Bohanna. That's your defensive line for the Packers.
That's a lot of names that are.
Yeah, I know I butchered the crap out of those. Don't get me wrong. I know I did. So apologies to any Packers fans out there for that. But it gives some credence to this offensive line for the Bears being as good as they have been and maintaining that health as well. That it hasn't been a test of who's the second and third backups at tackle and the interior line, like we've seen the last several years, to if there is a breakdown in what the Bears scheme this time around, knowing that they don't have to go up against a player the caliber of Micah Parsons, given how often he gets pressures on the quarterback, despite not even getting a sack against Caleb 2 weeks ago. That's huge, and it should open things up. And we talked about how the lean on play action in the second half of that game 2 weeks ago really opened things up. My curiosity stems to, do you think Ben Johnson is going to say, they're not as healthy as they were. They probably won't get as much pressure. Maybe we don't need to go to play action right away because of these things and actually go with the game plan we wanted to go with 2 weeks ago. And I have a feeling we might see that on Saturday night.
Yeah, and avoid the slow start. That was killer for them. I mean, that to come back and even be in the game at the end where it comes down to, you're driving, it comes down to just a bad throw. To be in that spot was even, because that game should have been out of hand. It was 14-6, 14-3 at halftime. It could have gone out of hand pretty quick. And, you got to avoid the slow start. You have to, if you get a takeaway, you have to take advantage. And they got one right away on Jordan Love. And they were in Packers territory. And what happened? They could not, the drop by the incompletion to Colston Loveland, the penalty on Colston Loveland, another incompletion. It just, it was a bad, bad drive, and they got no points. So avoid the slow start. If you take the football away, make sure you get points. And like you said, without Micah Parsons, I feel like maybe Ben Johnson can kind of open up the game plan a little bit more and not have to worry about a lot of that pressure, because even though Parsons didn't get a sack, he was in the backfield quite a lot. And if you watch, the Bears had to have someone help Chip with Ozzie Trapillo against Micah Parsons, and that kind of throws off some rhythm to some plays. So they won't have to have a chip on Micah Parsons this week. So maybe, Cole Kmet or Durham Smythe kind of rolls out a little more and is open earlier.
Yeah, you hope for the best there. The Bears right now, Green Bay is allowing, we'll put this because it's really made a massive impact in terms of the last few games. We'll call the last three just to kind of see where the trend has been. Green Bay over the last 3 games has allowed the 10th most passing yards in the league in their last 3 games. They came in for the season as a whole. They are allowing the 8th least. So they have slipped up considerably over these last 3 games they've played, giving up an average of 43 yards in the air more than their average, which is nuts to think that there is that impact. Like you said, last week, they give up 302 to Bo Nix through the air. Like, you can't tell me that once Micah Parsons left and the Packers were leading in that game, that it showed the impact that he has on defense, and the Bears have an opportunity to go out there and take advantage of a weapon and something that really kind of leads their defense to do what they do.
Well, and watch that game, the Broncos and Packers, when Bo Nix escaped and got out of the pocket, he made some plays. And he was almost at his best when he was thrown on the run and hitting guys, like Franklin and all that. But like he was really impressive. And I wonder, if this is similar for Caleb Williams, because we've seen Caleb Williams make some ridiculous throws on the run and out of pressure. So that might be kind of a perfect combination there. But, flipping defensively, I think the easy thing to look back at that game is the explosive plays. And the Bears have talked about it all week. Like, they have to limit the explosive plays. If they don't limit the explosive plays, it's over. And Jordan Love picked them apart on the blitz. I think it was like 11 of 12, 157, two touchdowns. Was it 3 touchdowns on the blitz? Yep. And I think that's something that Dennis Allen's going to look back on and say, all right, maybe, on 3rd and 6, maybe I don't play the send everyone and no one gets it within 5 yards of Jordan Love, because, Jordan Love, we like to, get on him and laugh at him when he throws interceptions when he's backpedaling. But a lot of times his deep throws are because of that backpedal. It gives him that extra, 1 second to fire it away and avoid pressure. So, yeah, I'm going to guess Dennis Allen's probably not going to send, 7, 8 guys, 6, 7 guys. Like, it'd be a big mistake.
I want to feel that way, that he won't. I can't bring myself to fully
just
believe
hope not, man.
I feel as though there's that belief in the pit of Dennis Allen's stomach that knows he can beat Jordan Love by sending the house. I don't like that feeling, because I don't think that feeling is necessarily true when you have guys like Bo Melton that are burning you deep. Yeah. And Christian Watson, if he's going to play and he's going, like, the chest injury is one thing, but if his legs work fine, that dude is speedy. And you still have to catch up with them, and you still don't have Kyler Gordon to cover him in the slot. And you wonder when Jalen Johnson is going to be fully healthy to be able to defend somebody like that. The secondary did not have a good day, as we all know, the first time these two teams faced this year. And I don't think there's enough to say you feel more comfortable about where they're at given the Packers' speed. That's my biggest question, is what the scheming is going to be for Dennis Allen in this defense, especially getting Tremaine Edmunds back. Obviously, that impacts a lot at that second level. And you have somebody that's able to roam sideline to sideline a little bit better than what you've had in previous weeks. But I don't know for certain whether or not the explosive play can be contained, because again, this is a Bears team that leads the league in explosive plays allowed, despite however well they are at making the explosive plays themselves. And you would think in practice, if you faced an offense like that, you would figure out ways to stop them. But the result has been the complete opposite for what this defense has been. When we talked about really the entire offseason, the preseason, the first few weeks, that the secondary was going to be a strength of this football team. I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah, I mean, what, their first in explosive plays on offense. They're defensively, the Bears are bottom 3 in explosive plays after that Green Bay game, and they gave up a bunch of runs this season, or a bunch of passes, touchdowns. It was 20-yard touchdowns. They gave up the most in the NFL. I hope you're wrong, because if Dennis Allen's down on the blitz and they can't get to Jordan Love, he's going to pick them apart again. And Christian Watson's a difference maker, man. And you should not be getting beat by Bo Melton deep. Like, no. It's almost like, he's a defensive back converted to wide receiver. There's no way his route running is that good. It's just pure speed. So, yeah, I hope Dennis Allen comes up with something different. I think he will. But I think for me, it's going to come down to, if the Bears can get pressure on Jordan Love without blitzing, they'll be fine. They're going to have – this is the type of game, man. You need Montez Sweat to show up. You need Austin Booker to show up. You need your big boys up front. Gervon Dexter's got to show up. Andrew Billings, Grady Jarrett. This is a defensive line type game where you can go out and set the tone. Hit Jordan Love early, hit him often, and do not let him get comfortable, and you're going to win this game.
And I will give the defensive line credit, specifically the tackles. It feels like there's been like an extra oomph to their play lately. Grady Jarrett
A little bit,
specifically,
yeah.
he's showing up a little bit more than he was the first few weeks of the season, which is a welcoming sight for a veteran because usually it's the opposite, and you just slowly start to see the trend down more than anything else. But Austin Booker, perfect example. He has 2 sacks last week. You see those glimpses every once in a while. You want to see it on the biggest stage, and this is the biggest stage on Fox Primetime on a Saturday night. And you're really not competing with any other major sports. Oregon, James Madison for the college football playoff. I can tell you where the eyes are going to be come Saturday night for football, and it's going to be on Soldier Field with the Bears and the Packers. And you want to see the fact that, Sweat has taken up an extra leadership role to this team. And you've seen that where you see a lot more pride in his play, and he's willing to push it a little bit further than he normally has.
Yeah.
What I hope is that even with the Packers offensive line injuries, like we talked about, that they might be without Zach Tom, who's going to be running the right tackle spot otherwise, that somebody would be able to break through and take advantage of that situation, because the back foot throw up in the air passes that Jordan Love tends to get away with on those deep shots can also get you into a ton of trouble because it's really easy to underthrow them. And we've seen some really bad interceptions when he's forced into those decisions a little bit earlier than he wants. And things are aligning the way that the Bears need them to align to get them to take advantage of that. We just need that extra oomph because the rush, the pass rush has just not been there. We need to see it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's going to be one of those games. If you could, and it's common sense. If you can get pressure on the quarterback, you're going to win. You're going to have a good time. You might not win, but you're going to have a good time. You're going to have a good chance. And like you said, I mean, with Jordan Love, it does seem like he gets away with a lot of those throws, especially with Tucker Kraft, and that's a lot to do with how Tucker Kraft can go up and get the football. But you're just you got one last time you played them, and you didn't take advantage of it, and you got to get pressure now. I think outside the Montez Sweat got 1 sack in the game. Outside of that, I don't think they got much pressure on Jordan Love at all, which was arguably a big difference maker in this game. And it's week 16. The winner could clinch a playoff berth. If Detroit loses the next day, the Bears win, they'll be 1.5 games up on Green Bay. Their magic number will be 1 to get into the playoffs. I think it'll be 2 still with the NFC North against Green Bay. But it's a game where Montez Sweat, I believe, has played in 1 playoff game. DJ Moore's never played in a playoff game. Grady Jarrett has played in plenty and has experience. A lot of these guys, like, this is an opportunity to punch your ticket or get really close to punching your ticket. And, I think they could say that, the focus was on the Browns right after that game, and I think it was, but I think in the back of their minds, they've been waiting for this game, and they know they let one maybe slip away in Green Bay.
And I think that there can be a lot of positive as well to the way that the Bears responded on the first short week this season. Obviously, that was the Philadelphia game on Friday, being able to go out and get the job done. They didn't play a Thursday game this year, which is kind of weird. But
after that 6-3 game last year, you
don't want to put them back on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Amazon was probably like, thanks, but no thanks. We'll take you on Friday and watch you get blown out. But hey, look at us. It's good to know that Ben Johnson can have the team ready to go on those short weeks, no matter what heads their way. And I think there's a little bit more confidence to that they're not going to get big headed, that the stage isn't going to be too big for them to make sure that they step up and make a statement. I'm cautiously optimistic more than anything else. And I'm telling myself, despite not having Rome Odunze, despite not having Luther Burden, that this is still a team that knows how to operate and has weapons, a pretty deep bench of weapons on the offensive side of the ball that should be able to get things done given the team that they're going up against. And, talking about those magic numbers, I believe if they win the next 2 weeks they both clinch a playoff spot and the North. Is the situation, because there'll be a game and a half up on the Packers if the Bears do indeed win on Saturday. And so you have to look at, we saw Ben Johnson say 11's the magic number, 12 is the magic number.
Yeah, 12.
Plain and simple. It's 12. Yeah. And 12 is there. It's staring you down in the face. Get it done. Like, let's go.
Yeah, there's also, it's weird, there's also a scenario they can win the division if they finish 1-5 in the division too, which is kind of funky.
Man.
Which is kind of funky, but they'd lose to Green Bay, they'd lose to Detroit, they'd have to beat San Francisco, and they'd have to have Minnesota beat Green Bay and Detroit, and Green Bay and Detroit lose another game as well, Pittsburgh and Baltimore. So yeah, I mean that.
I don't like that scenario.
No, I don't either. Just win. If you win Saturday, I mean, let's look at it right now. If the Bears win Saturday, they haven't clinched unless, Detroit loses the next day, but their magic number goes down to 1 just to clinch a playoff berth. And I think that's the most important thing right now, is just get that playoff berth and let's focus on division. But if the Bears win, right now they're 80% to make the playoffs, according to NFL.com. If they win, they'll be at 94%. If they lose, they'll be at 61%. And here's a fun fact. If they win,
these don't sound fun.
Well, if they win, the 94% probability, if they win, would be out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 6 teams, it would still be the lowest to go to the playoffs. Because they have it'd be the second lowest, because Green Bay would technically lose, and Green Bay would be at 78. But yeah, it's crazy. The schedule's tough, man. It's if they go 0-3, they're not going to the playoffs. So
I know the schedule's tough, but these just feel like hater statistics. Like it kills me on the inside, where it's like you win 10 games, it's like there's still not enough of a belief to say the Bears are going to get it done. I know it's stats. Stats don't lie. It is what it is. But the Bears have a belief that they are a good football team, and they are a good football team. And the coaching goes a long way with that, in what Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen, this entire staff has instilled in these players. I cannot see a scenario, unless somebody goes down with a catastrophic injury, Caleb Williams, for example, where they win on Sunday and they are without him, and they start Tyson Bagent for the last 2 weeks, or something else. I don't know. I mean, it would have to be horrendous.
I mean, it's tough, man. It is a tough schedule. Like it's two divisional opponents. It's a road game at a team that could be the number 1 seed, San Francisco. They still have a shot at being the number 1 seed too. So yeah, just focus on this week and win this game, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, if you are a Bears fan, you're also rooting for the Colts and the Steelers this weekend to hopefully get a little bit closer to clinching and solidifying a little bit nicer of a spot in the playoff picture, and we'll see if they can do it.
You're gonna have to root for 9 and the Minnesota Vikings as well. At least 2 weeks. They got the the Packers and the Lions. So
I tell you, he's been playing better. 9 has figured it out.
Well, I don't know if he's figured it out, but
he was pretty good against the Cowboys. I know the Cowboys aren't good, but
worst pass defense in the NFL is Dallas. The second or third worst is Washington. So I'm not, like, again, I don't think give up on him, but I got to see it fit. If he beats Green Bay or Detroit, I would love it, and I would give him all the props.
And I tell you, it sets up for a very interesting 2026 season to have him end on such a high note, knowing that there are very, very competitive teams across the entire division in the NFC North, which you cannot say in any other division right now, for the potential of any of the 4 teams being up for potentially winning the division. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But prediction. Do we want to put that out into the air?
Yeah, let's do it. We do it every week.
All right.
I'll go first, and my prediction is pretty much what I put out today. I think the Bears win. I think it's 27-24. I've said that they're going to split home and home. And I think, obviously Green Bay won at Lambeau. I think the Bears are going to win here. And my X factor is going to be the pass rush. Got to get something going on the pass rush.
Okay. I am going to go. You said 24-17?
No, 27-24.
27-24.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 24-20 Bears.
Okay.
I think they'll squeak it out. I think we are going to see another big game from Colston Loveland. Something about this is just lining up to get him the ball in space and to really solidify himself as the reason why he was taken 10th overall. He's going to open a lot of eyes, and I think Caleb's going to do the same. There's still people pushing that there's that outside chance for 4,000 yards. Let's just win the damn game. Like, yeah. I don't want to hear about it. He's got to average like 280 the rest of the way. It's not going to happen, but I tell you what, I think he's going to get close in this game because there's going to be more time to develop the play at hand, and it's going to work to the Bears' advantage on Saturday night.
Would be nice, a big game from Caleb, and shut up a lot of Packers fans and reporters. That would be nice, or both Packer fan reporters. So
yeah, we'll see if that does indeed happen. Or again, the injuries, you just don't want the excuses. And I know the excuses are going to come out on either side. There's going to be excuses. Well, we didn't have a Doonzayer Burton. Well, we didn't have Micah Parsons. Blah, blah, blah. Just enjoy the game.
Yes.
Enjoy the game. Bears fans, Packers fans, enjoy the game. The rivalry is meaning more than it has in a very long time. Embrace it because it is fun when it does have this impact, not only for the fan bases, but for the league as a whole. So we'll see what happens Saturday night, 7:20, Fox, primetime, all for the NFC North lead and the 2 seed in the NFC. That's going to do it here for the Bear Report preview of Bears-Packers Part 2 in Week 16. For Zach Pearson, I'm Steven Johnson. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Enjoy the game on Saturday, and we'll talk to you following the matchup, breaking it all down, win or lose. We'll see you then. Good for the